I am so happy with how this looks for the Rangers. We have a pitcher, Jack Leiter, and he is a dude.
And while I do think his hitting is worse than Derek Jeter, it's not that far off.
You're not mentioning 2006. You can mention the other people, not 2006.
Oh, just because I bought the best soap doesn't mean your room's going to be clean. It just leaves it to where I don't believe that the Canadians had a shot.
I really don't like the Clippers just kind of sending it in when they're like...
Hi, this is Kelly Forbes with the Dallas Stars, and listening to Outsiders' Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week, and you could call it drama talk, but NBA really is all drama, Austin.
Especially during the offseason.
Yes, but this isn't just, I know you're no longer on X, which is a smart move, but I'm sure it's on Instagram, Centel, and all his fake tweets, or the account's fake tweets.
Yeah, there has been a good bit of that, and I have seen some of it. I'm not as familiar, but I've seen so many mock trades and mock this, mock that, about him going back to Cleveland or him coming to Dallas or all those and above. But what do you think about that? And do you think there's any possibility that LeBron does not finish his career in a Laker uniform?
I think it's really possible. And I mentioned drama, but there is an ESPN article that was published, this morning, actually, as we are recording on July 11th, where it kind of talks about the transition of LeBron being in the know, LeBron not being in the know, and Luka being in the know. And I would say, even though I'm not a huge fan of ESPN, I trust their written side more than their talking side. If this is just the first take piece, then I would be more skeptical. But it is reported that there was a meeting at this. It's Craig's Restaurant on Melrose Avenue in West Hollywood between Rob Pelinka, Luka, his agent, and JJ Redick. And then you have the possible Mark Williams trade, which Luka was consulted on. And then Luka was actually was notified of the owner transition in the Lakers before it happened, and LeBron wasn't. And we assumed, kind of because that's the LeBron tactic, that he opts out, gets a longer term deal. And usually, of course, like, we're not super NBA insiders, but usually if you're going to get a contract before you opt out or opt in. But LeBron opted in, and to me that really gives an idea of the Lakers weren't really interested in giving him a longer term contract.
Yeah, and I think that could be in a couple of different ways. Either this is his last year and he doesn't care about signing a 1-year contract, or the Lakers were not going to re-sign him, like you said, or if they were going to re-sign him, it was going to be to a deal that he didn't really like. So less than the money he would have made on the player option. So I do think there's some serious consideration. My still thing is, if he were to be traded, would Bronny be a part of the trade?
That's a good point. I don't know if he would be. The only way he gets traded to me is if he opts out, or if he is like, hey, I want to get traded, make it a whole thing at the trade deadline. But I think the opt-in makes it even harder because of the cap hit and that contract. Like, how would that contract work for LeBron as a rental? Not just even future picks, but just the money side of it. Especially with this new CBA and kind of the way teams are hard capped in a trade if they're in the second apron or near it. Because he's making 54 this year.
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
I guess if you're Cleveland, and it kind of thinks, like, LeBron, of course, is still fantastic, and he is one of the greatest of all time. But I have the same idea of KD. What exactly is LeBron's, what should his position be or role be on a championship winning team?
I guess it depends on which team gets him. If it's the Cavs, then I think that he's a centerpiece of like distributing. And I think Darius Garland would probably be a part of the trade because LeBron, I think, would become a point guard at that point. His defense is still not the best at this point in his career, but his playmaking will never go away. He can still shoot. And so I think it would be kind of in a playmaking role where Donovan Mitchell's still the primary scorer, but the primary facilitator is LeBron. If it was to the Mavericks, I think it's very similar. They need a point guard. He fills in that role. But if it was to a team that already has an established point guard, let's go Warriors, for example, right? Then I think that he would be more on the shooting and he'd prioritize himself to defend a little bit harder than he has been with the Lakers. Because with the Lakers, they don't have a point guard, so he's been their primary playmaker. He would be an integral part to any team that he joined. However, I do think his role would differ. While if you look earlier in his career, either the first Cavs stint, second Cavs stint, or the Heat stint, or even early Lakers stint, LeBron was going to be LeBron no matter where he went. Like the role was not going to change. But I do think that his role factors in where he goes. Again, if he goes to a team that has a point guard, let's say Warriors, I think that he's a more defensive shooting player that can also finish around the rim, but he's not going to be worrying about facilitating as much. But in a Cavs or Mavericks sort of area, I think that he generally will be focusing on being a playmaker and making the team around him better than it will be on him being a good defender. And especially in the Mavs or Cavs situation, they're already great defensive teams, right? So both of those teams are great defensive teams. So they don't need to really prioritize the defense with LeBron. They need to prioritize the stuff that they're bad at, or at least struggle with. Which for both of those teams, if they again, if Garland's part of the trade, or in the Mavs situation, if it's a trade where LeBron would have to be the point guard, I think that's something that would help them a lot.
Yeah, that's a great way of how you dissected what roles he would do. And I was kind of more hit against the idea he won't be the LeBron of old where it's literally everything goes through him, which there is kind of how the Lakers are built, which is bad, I would say, because it relies on Luca and LeBron. And I just don't think LeBron is at that point in his career. But if he can be the final piece for a team, especially if you mentioned the Cavs or the Mavericks, of being that facilitator role, and he does bring up a lot of experience. But to me, it can't be you trade a bunch of guys for him and you're like, save our team. I just think that's putting a lot of pressure and unrealistic expectations with where he's at right now.
Yeah, he's not a savior, but he'll still be, no matter where he goes, a strong and effective part of the team, and a part of the team that I think there's not many players that can still add the level of playmaking that you get from LeBron, especially from a player of his height, and also he still has a strong scoring ability. So I think that the impact he'll have on any of those teams that we mentioned will still be enough that it's worth the trade value if you're going to go for a title this year. However, in any aspect that you don't go for a title, you're not trading for him not to win this season, right? So he's a immediate win now piece and one that's worth it if you do win a title, because I don't care about paying $54 million if I'm raising a banner.
Yeah, that's a great point, as you said. And I think you have to think about it as the first season, as the only season, but I don't believe this is his final season because we would hear about it and he kind of gets kind of that parade. If you want to go with former Lakers great with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he kind of had a whole ceremony of this is his final year. I feel like the person that LeBron is, well, not the person because we're not close to him, but just kind of what he's done in the past. He likes to draw attention to himself, having a TV crew on his decision, of course, to go to the Heat from the Cavs in the first time. I think there would be something of the quote unquote the decision part too, but it's before the season starts, and he's like, "This is going to be my final year." In that way, wherever he's playing, which I don't think it would be the Lakers, they have a final ceremony for him, and everyone is talking about LeBron's legacy in this final year, as during the entire regular season. Maybe he wins the NBA Cup again in his final year. Who knows? But that's how I don't feel this is last year. But I think it is most likely his last year with the Lakers.
Do you think that if he was traded, it would be a trade deadline deal or a pre-season start or early season deal?
That's a good question. I feel like it's a trade deadline deal. They might he might try to make it work with Luca, or the Lakers might try to make it work with Luca, but they might, once it gets to the trade deadline, they agree to part ways mutually.
And will that be because the Lakers are not doing well and they want to build around Luka at the trade deadline, or will that be a LeBron is expecting it to happen right now and they're waiting to get a better deal because the trade deadline will allow that to happen because teams are more there's not time, right? You have to make a move immediately.
I think I want to say it is not working well between him and Luca, but I don't think like a terrible team, but just not a top team in the West. And I think that can lead to LeBron being disgruntled. And it could work out for both sides because let's say you trade with the Cavs, you could get Darius Garland. I wonder if they could get a center or maybe some more defensive help, but a point guard would help with Darius Garland. Pair that with Luca, and you get some defensive players. I think you can make a lot of trades to where you could win now. You could have a win now mode for both teams. With the Lakers, where it's better suited for Luca, because the key thing is Luca hasn't signed the extension, so it is. I would say it's very possible. It's very possible that the Lakers don't have Luca or LeBron on their team next year.
Which is why I think that this season is extremely important for the team and one that they're going to have to do whatever they can to make Luka happy. So
Yeah,
whatever to whatever end that is, it's not LeBron's team anymore.
absolutely. Because that to me is why you're having this disgruntledness, as it talked about. They were really prioritizing Luca because if you're thinking about the future, Luca's the future, and you just don't have him on a. I don't think he's going to sign the extension. I'm very interested. It says he could sign. It said 3 years. He can sign an extension after August 2nd, I believe. It's the beginning of August. I may get the date wrong. August, yeah.
I don't know what the exact.
Yeah, it's
is.
officially August 2nd, listed in the ESPN.
Got it.
So that is where, if that happens, then it officially LeBron's completely out. I would say of their plans because they got Luca. They're courting. I want to say a younger LeBron, but like they're different players, but just the magnitude I would say of Luca. That's what the Lakers are courting. It's courting a top 5 superstar for their team while having.
And usually when you're courting someone like that, they're not on your team already.
Yeah,
but they're in the they have the advantage that he is already on the team, but you have to be able to keep him, and there's nothing they can do besides give him everything that he wants.
it really, I would say, it's to a greater extent because it's kind of how the teams felt with LeBron in the past. Maybe the Cavs with Kyrie and LeBron, even though this is kind of in the era where Kyrie was kind of making wild decisions of that, but it is kind of focusing on the current superstar while you have a young star with you, but it's reversed. The Lakers are focusing on the young superstar while the main legendary superstar is starting to get phased out and lose the attention.
More than lose the attention, it's just not contributing to. Like, I think if the Lakers were obvious title contenders this year, that LeBron would not be a clear candidate to leave. But I think there is that doubt, not just within the organization, but within the NBA. And that's causing not just LeBron to reach out to other teams, but teams to reach out to the Lakers.
Yeah, and yeah, it really is. They're not built for this because of just how crazy that trade was. Because it was like, no way, we can get this. And yeah, so kind of goes to again the effect of the Luca trade. Yeah, I'm really interested, not from a fan standpoint because it sucks still, but from just a historical standpoint of what are the effects of this Luca trade and Anthony Davis trade for both teams in the following years, and we won't know till 5 years from now, even 10 years from now.
Sure.
So let us know your thoughts in the comments. Is it as drama filled as we are making out to be, and what it looks like from LeBron's camp and ESPN providing the story? So let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.